Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. Great to have you back on the channel. Thanks to all the subscribers and welcome to all the new subscribers. It's always a pleasure to get together. This show is being recorded for Sunday, March 20th, 2022. And as always, these shows are for entertainment purposes only. So all the information I share with you comes real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, and famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. Also, if you just take a moment to help the channel, just like, subscribe, share, and all those things really help the back-end algorithms and support the channel and put the show out kind of in an area where other people can get access to it. Also, people always ask how to reach me. Very easy to do. Look for sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab, and it's very easy from there. So today, I thought we'd go through a number of questions, a countdown again. Thanks to everyone that submitted questions on the community board. We put out a request every week on Mondays, and you're certainly welcome to put questions there. That's where all the questions are garnered from. And my wife does a lovely job of gathering all the questions and sorting through them, and always tries to select questions that have not been answered before. And then within 24 hours after the show is actually posted, we actually add the timestamp so that it's easy to go back and check for content. So let's get started with today's countdown. I think today we had 36 questions. So here we go. A new variant has been detected in Europe called the Deltacron. How will it affect the US? So this new variant is kind of it's a Frankenstein, if you will, between Omicron and Delta, and not to be confused with BA2, which is actually an extension of the original BA1 variant. Now, my guides have said all along, and they're kind of repeating here, is that we're going to go through two surges this year. One is starting right now in the US, and it'll kind of sweep across the world. That is this new variant that's coming over, that's starting out in Europe. The second variant will be with us, that we'll have to be careful of towards the end of this year. I'm talking about October, November kind of a time frame. Now, the good news is that a lot of the world is vaccinated, so the effects of these variants are going to be somewhat mitigated. But there still will be, concerns. We'll have to probably get back to masking in certain areas. But anyway, so these variants are coming. Two surges this year. My guides are clear about that. And they've actually been saying that now for months. But anyway, I think we'll be able to navigate through them, even though they'll be highly contagious. And certainly, everybody needs to be careful and stay safe and exercise caution in any way that you want to exercise caution, whether it's masking or distancing or vaccine, whatever, all the solutions are out there. And I just want everybody to be safe. So that's what my guys are telling me about kind of the new variant coming here. 35. The Census Bureau announced that they undercounted communities of color while overcounting white and Asian communities. Will this problem be rectified? Yes, it appears that the government is already aware of this. And in fact, people of color, Native American, Black, Latino, I think that this is the whole group that's been undercounted by nearly 50%. Or another way of looking at it, I think nearly only 1/3, if you will, of those groups were counted properly. So they're going to the government's going to actually go back and correct this problem. They're already aware of it. So look for some of those results to take place within this year, by the end of this year. So yes, governments are aware of the problem and they'll correct for it. 34. Will the Biden administration get some substantial climate and green energy legislation passed? Will the government help in transitioning our vehicles from fossil fuels to clean sources of energy? Yes, absolutely. A lot of these infrastructure bills and even the BBB, the Build Back Better bill, a lot of the elements in these bills will promote green energy and the movement away from fossil fuel vehicles to cleaner green electric vehicles. So there'll be rebates and incentives to retire petroleum-based vehicles. So yes, all this is coming, and it looks like we'll see it over the next 12 to 24 months here. As some of these bills get passed, you'll start to see these elements come into play in society. 33, Sterling, someone brought this up and I found it a bit scary. Can you please look at this scenario? GOP takes back the House of Representatives, then makes 45 the Speaker of the House, which is third in line to the presidency. The GOP will go on to impeach Biden Harris, get the Senate back, and put 45 in as president. Do you see this happening? No, not at all. I do see that some bizarre sorts of things have been discussed by the GOP, and it wouldn't surprise me if someone may have brought this up in a backroom scenario. I don't see this happening at all. And further, it appears that there's a number of significant indictments that are coming down on 45, and that would prevent even any kind of movement for him back into a government role. So the scenario does not look like it plays out to me at all. No. 32. If our dreams are meant to be part of our learning experience here on Earth, why are they so hard to understand and interpret? So dreams are meant to act as a guide. They're not meant to prevent you from learning any lessons here on Earth. They're meant to give you clues. So look for clues on how to live a better life and things you're supposed to navigate through and learn as you go through life. So they're clues, but they're not meant to prevent any life lessons. So that's kind of why dreams sometimes stay in a little bit more of a cyber state, if you will. But people, you can learn, actually, everybody can learn how to remember dreams, interpret dreams. I'll give you one simple tip is that before you go to sleep, you can actually ask your guides and angels to please help you, please remember your dreams. And waking up, that can start to help you. So, and then as soon as you wake up, keep a notepad by your bedside, write down your thoughts. Those techniques can help. But dreams are meant to give you clues, not to prevent you from learning life lessons. 31. Why are there earthbound spirits? Some say it's the result of an unexpected death, or that many souls don't realize they're dead. Is this true? No. There are no earthbound spirits per se. So everyone passes on and is able to move into the other dimension, which is heaven. However, many spirits may choose to come back and frequent locations or be closer to loved ones or whatnot. So there really are no earthbound spirits that are stuck, but may have lessons or life reviews they're going through on the other side that may cause them to want to come back to certain locations, but they're not stuck, no. 31. Hello, Sterling. President Eisenhower met with ETs in the 50s. Have they met with any other presidents? Yes, they've met with Clinton, Obama, Biden, but did not meet with Ford or Nixon or Johnson. Interesting. So that's what they said. So yes, other presidents. And ETs are very discerning, at least the groups that I communicate with, is that they always want to ensure that whoever they're communicating with has their best interest at heart and kind of help humankind forward. Interesting question. 29. I wonder if animals reincarnate as the same species, or if they can come back to Earth as different one. Also, might they reincarnate to a different galaxy? Well, animals predominantly do come back as the same species, but I have seen in a lot of the work I've done over the years that many times I see horses and dogs may interchange species. So I've seen dogs come back as horses and horses come back as dogs, which may own up to the fact why they're so close here on Earth. But by and large, most species come back as the same species. And yes, remember, all animals are part of the angelic realm. And when they pass on, they can certainly move to other galaxies if they wish, or wherever they think they can be of the most help. 28. I was recently told by a psychic that I'm an empath. I've seen many psychics before and have never been told this. I definitely feel in the last 2 years, I have gone through a lot of spiritual and emotional growth. Therefore, have I always had this ability, or is this something that I have developed? Can you develop psychic abilities, other sensitivities later in life? Yes. So this question comes up a lot. If you're an empath, by and large, that means you may be 10 times more empathetic than the standard human, standard individual. We're all born psychic mediums. I try to make that very clear on these shows that I do, that we're all born with a gift. And many times people put it down childhood, but you can certainly develop later on in life. So anyway, the fact that whoever this individual was that saw a psychic says she was an empath, certainly a gift you're born with if you're more empathetic than the average person. And you can certainly develop skills at any time in life, midlife, later in life, whatever you like. Just requires some practice and some skills. And I cover that in some of the other shows that I do. But that I think that's a straightforward answer to this question, number 28. Number 27 in the countdown. I was wondering if you believe humans will inhabit Mars and use it as a second home, as alluded to by Elon Musk. Yes, absolutely. That's all charted as part of the Earth's history, is that we'll actually at some point inhabit Mars. And a lot of ET species have come back and forth from Mars and even taken certain scientists and politicians back to Mars already. So yeah, this is all part of a larger master plan. And yes, at some point, now you're going to have to go many decades out in the future before, there are significant numbers of people will inhabit Mars. But anyway, suffice to say that there are many ET species moving back and forth around the solar system, but even between Earth and Mars, and even taking certain scientists back there as well. 26. Oh, by the way, they just remind me, we actually even have a US base on Mars, which some very high-level government officials are already aware of. 26. Once, a couple of years ago, before I went to sleep, I heard beautiful music in my head that was so unusual. I didn't recognize the melody, and it didn't seem to come from outside. It never happened again. Can you explain where it came from? Yes, this is a resonance to a past life. So if you can somehow discern what that music was or what sort of a genre it was in, actually being able to trace that music back will give you some insight into a past life. So it's a bit of a resonance to a past life memory. Number 25 in the countdown. Do you see Connecticut State Technical High Schools continuing and the instructors making more money? Yes, absolutely. But this will take another year. And part of the funding they're telling me here again is going to come back through an infrastructure bill and a Build Back Better bill. So there's funding coming for these particular technical high schools, as well as increased salary for the instructors. And I hope they're right here, but they're telling me it could be as much as like 30% more in salary. Okay, 24 in the countdown. Is Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India helping or planning to help Putin? I do see him trying to help Putin through kind of some backdoor methods of almost asylum for certain Russians, and even some help when it comes to food or other sorts of things to help sustain Russian forces. But this will also come back, it will backfire in India later this year in terms of sanctions. So yeah, I do see some backdoor assistance. I don't necessarily see military assistance in terms of weapons, but it does look things like food and asylum for certain Russians, unfortunately, but it looks like it will backfire in India. Number 23 in our countdown. Hello, Sterling. Last week, my daughter was going to the gym and she saw an elderly man that looked just like my dad that passed away almost 15 years ago. She wanted to give the man a hug, but she didn't want him to think that she was crazy. She called me crying like a baby. She couldn't speak. Was my dad the person my daughter saw? Well, not this human being that you saw was not officially your father that passed away, but this is a way that spirit can intervene and create imagery that reminds you of loved ones. This is the way loved ones can get messages through. So I see this happen all the time, where somebody might be walking through an airport and see their mother that passed away years ago. And so this is imagery that the other side and your loved ones are trying to create in order just as kind of a helpful nod and a loving nod to say, we still love you, and it's kind of a gift for you. So yes, this imagery was meant to move your daughter in the way that it did. 22. Last week, March 7th, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office ruled that CRISPR is the intellectual property of MIT and Broad Institute of Harvard. More than 100 biotechnology companies license CRISPR technology from other sources, and all their patents are now invalid. This is a huge setback for biotech growth, forcing all players to start over and negotiate with MIT and Harvard. Do your guides see a path for a positive outcome? Yes. First off, there are many variants of the COVID CRISPR, or the CRISPR patent. I'm sorry, the CRISPR patent. So there'll be many different variations of it. And I do see the government, the federal government, intervening here in terms of playing almost a middleman to cover patent fees and co-licensing fees and co-patenting fees in order to kind of bring everybody together for the betterment of humanity and kind of bringing forth a lot of the healing or the medications are coming forward based on CRISPR and gene editing technology. So my guides are saying this is not like slamming the door, if you will. This is part of the overall process going forward. And this is to be expected, by the way, whenever there's any large technology developments, and these were actually brought forward by ETs, but whenever there's large things that affect, humanity, our population, there's going to be a little bit of process involved. So I wouldn't worry, but the federal government's going to step in, and they're also confirming here there are many other co-patent developers around CRISPR technology. 21. Just watched The Shape of Water and was wondering if the creature in the movie was an introduction to ETs who live in the ocean. A gradual peek at what may someday be revealed. Yes, absolutely. This is part of the way that the other side, ETs and angels and guides, all work through creative channels to kind of enlighten directors, producers, filmmakers, actors, in order to kind of get messaging through to prepare humankind overall. So yes, this is all part of messaging coming through to prepare people. 20. I've always felt different from everyone else. I am quiet, awkward, shy, and not talkative, sensitive, and super weird, especially around men. Is there something wrong with me, or is it just the way I was brought up? I came from a strict, old-fashioned family. No, I'm being told this is all genuinely part of your life path, but the two prominent messages here are to take back your personal power and to not be worried about external judgment. So we're actually getting your arms around those two factors on your life path, taking back personal power and not being affected by external judgment, which is hard for many people, but those are the life lessons you're going through. So those are the focus points, if you will. 19. Do we share the same realm on the other side with ETs? Are they part of our growth and learning after we pass? Yes, absolutely. ETs move back and forth through many dimensions, including this dimension and heaven. And there's certainly an elevated level of consciousness and energy. And ETs certainly interact with us in all dimensions, and they're part of our healing and our growth, our understanding in all dimensions. So it's yes, kind of all the questions that are being asked here. 18. Hi, Sterling. While my son was meditating and trying to connect with his guides, he suddenly heard he's not ready. My son responded, I am ready. Then he heard several voices speaking incoherently. What did he experience? Interesting enough, your son attracted some prankster spirits, and they're not evil, but it was the prankster spirits having a dialogue with his guides and angels. So, when you start out a lot of this kind of process of learning how to communicate with your guides and angels, it does take some practice. A simple protective prayer can stop that from happening, because prankster spirits will certainly acknowledge protective prayers, and then they'll move away. By the way, whenever you do any kind of spiritual work, you look like a flashlight to the other side. So a lot of spirits will come running, and you certainly wanted to say a quick little protective prayer to ensure that you're communicating with spirits that have your highest and best interests at heart. 17. In July of 1996, TWA Flight 800 exploded shortly after taking off from JFK Airport, New York, killing all 230 on board. 20 of them were from a local high school French club heading to Paris. Many eyewitnesses stated they saw a missile strike the plane. What do you think happened? This was a center fuel tank explosion. And by the way the explosion happened, there's like fireballs or something shooting from the plane. Individuals may have mistaken that as thinking there was a missile hitting the plane. I understand a missile would be something, coming from the ground up to the plane, but something the way the center fuel tank explosion happened, the way it shot off fireballs, maybe initially some mistook for a missile, but it looks like it was a center fuel tank explosion to me. 16. Does the astrological chart we're born under identically reflect the birth chart we chose for ourselves? Let me answer in this way. When you select your life path and your blueprint for your life, it perfectly aligns with the time you come down, which perfectly aligns with the orientation of planets in the solar system and all the gravitational forces. So it actually is all predestined in a way because you select the time and your parents and your life path and your lessons. So astrologically, because you choose the time, all the planets align with that chart, if that makes sense. 15. Hi, Sterling. I'm watching my favorite movie, Apollo 13, and got to wondering if aliens have ever intervened and helped any of the astronauts as they're in space. For example, if a shuttle had a malfunction. Yes, absolutely. ETs interact with humankind all the way around, whether you're on Earth or in space. And they certainly have interacted with astronauts and even shown themselves astronauts. And in fact, many astronauts even have pictures of ETs and even great pictures of angels up in space. So some of these pictures can be found if you search YouTube or you Google it. You can see some of these photographs. But yes, they interact with many, many astronauts and even shuttle crews. Okay, 14. Sterling, in the late 1970s, I was driving on the 210 highway on La Crescenta when a UFO hovering over the freeway stopped traffic. I could see the car in front of me stopped and the car beside me stopped. My foot was on the gas pedal, but my car was frozen. I looked at the guy in the next lane that I could see easily. He looked as bewildered as I felt. Then the traffic started up again. My foot, however, never left the gas pedal. When I arrived at the babysitting job, I called 911 from the landline and recalled my encounter with UFO and the stalled traffic. The 911 operator stated they had gotten several calls and were dealing with the situation. I thought I would hear about it on the local news that evening or the next day, but there was nothing. Please let me know what your guys have to say about this situation. You witnessed an ET spacecraft leaving Earth's orbit, and the effects, they utilize anti-gravity propulsion systems, which we're very aware of. And it was the anti-gravity propulsion system that affected a lot of the vehicles that were around you. So, and the fact it wasn't on the news means that the military was very aware of it and try to keep it quiet because they didn't want to concern a lot of the population and the media. So yeah, that's we've seen this before, but my guys are telling me it was the effects of anti-gravity propulsion that created that effect on the freeway with a lot of the cars. 13. Sterling, is our soul always on this planet, or do we have past lives on other planets? We have lives on other planets. So once our soul, our main spirit, moves to the other dimension, you certainly can move anywhere you want within the galaxy or in the universe. And you can certainly move to other planets if you like. You certainly can. 12. I recently saw on YouTube channel a woman who channeled an elder Sasquatch named Camus. He's very old and lives in another dimension. It was a very enlightening encounter with a Sasquatch. I felt it would not be an unpleasant experience to me to meet one. What is your take on this? Yes, Sasquatch are shape-shifting ETs, and they're all around us. And yes, they're friendly and will not hurt you. And certainly if you encounter one or decide to communicate with one, it's a very friendly, enlightening experience. And this is all true. Mm-hmm. Okay, question 11. Hi, Sterling. Will there be new treatments for fungal toenails available soon that are more effective than what's available now? I have tried laser treatment, had to stop the oral medications because of side effects, and over-the-counter ointments and home remedies don't work for me either. Yes, within 5 years, it appears there's going to be an injectable solution that will help. So it's some sort of a vaccine or a medication. And it looks like, I don't want to talk out of turn here, but it looks like it may in fact end up coming from Merck. which is also the company that's doing pills for COVID right now. Not that they're related, but my guys are saying it looks like it's Merck that will come out with this vaccine. 10. Will E.G. Carroll win her case for defamation against 45? Yes, I actually see strong movement on the case, even by the end of this year for E.G. Carroll. And even though 45's attorneys are trying to get the case dismissed unsuccessfully, looks like it will move forward for her. Yes, it'll be successful. 9, I count down. Many years ago, I took a walk down to the lake where I live near and sat down on a log in a wooded area, secluded. It was a beautiful day, nice and peaceful. As I enjoyed the view, everything shifted. It was like the movie The Matrix with streaming numbers, but there were no numbers, just energy. The trees, grass, ducks, everything was made of this energy that I could visibly see. But beyond that, all the colors of everything were heightened. And I was overwhelmed by the feeling of pure peace and love that felt so calming and enveloped me. I wasn't just looking at the energy streaming, I was also a part of it. I became the trees, the water, sky, and wildlife. But everything was also individual, but connected by pure energy. Why did I experience this vision? So you're describing what heaven feels like. So you actually experienced or got a glimpse into heaven without going through an NDE or a near-death experience. So congratulations. And the reason you were showing this is you're supposed to pass along that information of your experience. So that's what it was all about, had a glimpse into heaven. So congratulations. 8, will China support Russia in their war against Ukraine? Yes, I do see some forms of support for Russia by China. And it looks like some sort of backdoor transfer of, could be some weapons. I don't see anything substantial because I do see China eventually playing a strong part in helping to intercede and help to orchestrate a peaceful resolution between Russia and Ukraine. And the main reason that China, so this is more of an answer, I think, than this person asked, but it looks to me they're telling me China is going to get involved because they do not want a nuclear war on their back doorstep either. So that's why they're going to get involved. But so there's some help here that China is going to provide to Russia. But at the same time, more of the effort they're going to put forward in helping the world is to help to negotiate a resolution. So there'll be a party that will be very instrumental in helping to bring an off-ramp, if you will, to this conflict with Russia. I'm not saying they're going to be the only one. NATO is going to be very involved as well. But this person was asking about how China is going to will China support Russia? Yeah. So kind of a larger answer than this person asked, but many factors there. 7, on the topic of gene editing and CRISPR technology, do edited genes get passed on to offspring, or do you pass off the unedited genes still, especially in the case of where you have some kind of hereditary disease? No, the new genes, the modified genes that are modified due to CRISPR technology are the ones that get passed along to offspring. So as your genes get modified and upgraded, if you will, and updated due to CRISPR technology, it's those genes that get modified or transferred to offspring. 6, can you ask your guides if making changes to our DNA and genes by way of all this new technology is going to lead us to a place that was not intended and will ultimately hurt us in the future? Well, no, this is all part of an evolution of the human species. So ETs are very much a part of it, and CRISPR technology, in the same way that ETs evolved through millions of years, humanity and humankind are going to evolve. So a lot of this gene editing technology is meant to create a better quality of life, and it's all part of the natural evolution that's going on here on the planet, on Earth. And as you fast forward hundreds or millions of years into the future, we'll certainly be able to see how humankind evolves and our ability and in fact, the ability to communicate and telepathy and kind of pilot through major diseases. So all this is all part of an evolution, a helpful evolution. 5 in our countdown. Sterling, will Scotland separate away from UK? And if yes, is this a good thing? No, in the end here, I do not see Scotland moving away from the UK. And it appears the reason that they're not going to move away is they've now ascertained that financially, economically, it's going to be far better for them to stay close to the UK in fighting major pandemics and world conflicts and any wars that come up. So it'll be an economic decision for Scotland to say we need to be connected with the UK for the benefits we'll get from being with the UK. 4, can your guides tell us something about black holes and dark matter that may not already be known? Yes, well, black holes and dark matter are really created by collapsing stars. I think a lot of this is known, but they're telling me that things that may not be so well known is they were some of the first large gravitational physical elements in the universe, almost even before the creation of a lot of galaxies. And in fact, they're closely related. So black holes and dark matter are created by collapsing stars. And in fact, they're telling me that there's far more dark matter, which are like planets you can't see, but they certainly exert a lot of gravitational effects. And there's far more dark matter than physical planets or stars we can see. So I mean, that's something we don't know. Many more of these physical objects that are dark matter that we can't see than even the stars and the planets we can see. Interesting. 3, Sterling, are the claims by Bob Lazar of alien spacecraft he worked on at Area 51 truthful? Yes, completely truthful. And in fact, Bob Lazar, he was one of the first ones to really discuss and get out into the public awareness there, not only spacecraft, but anti-gravity technology, anti-gravity propulsion system. So it's all true. And he was one of the first ones to come out publicly to really offer up the information at kind of great risk and peril to himself. Number 2 in our countdown, do you see anything coming up this week? Well, like last week, my guys were saying significant movement by NATO, NATO countries and organizations to try to get together and come together to develop some sort of an off-ramp for peace for Putin. And in fact, we know now that Biden is going to have a meeting next week with all the NATO organizations. So that was forecast last week. My guys are saying this is all still happening, and many more large-scale NATO organizations and discussions. I also see some very successful, I'm going to call it backdoor transfer of weapons systems and even aircraft into Ukraine to successfully start to help Ukraine in their air defenses. That's going to happen. And I do see more very detailed satellite imagery so that we can get ahead of new techniques or threats that Russia is proposing. So the world's going to be able to get ahead of new threats that are coming from Russia. So, I mean, not to be concerned. A lot of our ETs and alien friends are all over this battlefield and all over this areas of Europe to make sure that things are contained and the safety of humanity is maintained. So, man, a lot of things coming up this week. And number 1 in our countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Keep the faith and keep focused on a new world and a new universe that's focused on peace and prosperity for all of humankind. Keep this in your focus on a daily basis, and that will help move the energy out. And so in conclusion of today's show, I want to send out tremendous love and light to everybody in Ukraine, and even to those populations and people in Russia, that they can see insight and see their way towards peace. And so all of humankind, but a tremendous amount of love and light being sent to Ukraine. As always, in closing, anybody needs to reach me, just look for sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the Book a Session tab. Next Sunday, I'll be doing a show as well with Linda Grindle, the Comanche Psychic. You can look for that as well as a show on this channel. And until next week, I'm going to send everybody a lot of goodwill, a lot of love, a lot of light to you and your families. Take care.